So it's my pleasure to welcome you to the first ever and hopefully first annual GSE Awards Luncheon. Thank you very much for coming and being here today. My name is Shannon Brady, and I'm a second-year doctoral student. As community chair for the Student Guild, I'm the student organizer for this event. Today's luncheon was conceived as an opportunity for us to come together as a community to celebrate the things that we've accomplished in the last year, to recognize outstanding individual contributions, and then to look forward to next year. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dean Steele, who's going to give us some reflections on this past year and also some thoughts on where he sees us going in the next.
Thanks, Shannon. I don't want you guys to get your expectations too high, but we'll cover some of those things. But first, let me just begin by congratulating the nominees for all these awards. That is a big deal. And I guess this is the first time that we've ever had a special occasion to do these. Normally, they're done in graduation, and so it's really nice to have a chance for the community to, acknowledge and recognize everybody. It's a big deal to be acknowledged by one's colleagues, I think. So that's what's really nice about this award. Maybe just out of curiosity, if everybody who was nominated would stand up, we can see. Congratulations, both as individuals and as a collective. I think it's, the kind of behavior that has led you guys to get these awards are great norms for a community. That's one thing a community always has to do, is renew its best norms, and your actions and involvement, engagement in the school over this last year are good role models for us all. So congratulations. Shannon also asked me to have a few reflections on the school. What our achievements have been, what our plans for the future are, what our general thrust is. So I thought I'd try to do that in some rough way. I hope I don't get tedious here. But first, I want to say, as a relatively new dean, I can't say I'm a new dean. This is the end of my second year, but I'm still relatively new, and I do begin almost every day with a notion that you might call this a do no harm school. It's a good school. Of all the ed schools in the world, I can't think of a better ed school. And this has to do with the collection of fantastic faculty that we have here, with the kind of expertise, the pattern of expertise that the school makes up and offers. The kind of students here, I think we have the best students studying education anywhere in the world here. We don't think of it that way very often, but that's really, I think, a basic truth. And to my great joy, we have a fantastic staff and a fantastic staff morale. And that is a wonderful world to live in. So the first thing you have to say about a school when you think about change and so on is just don't mess up anything. This is a great place. We always do want to improve, of course, and to take on challenges that ed schools are faced with, and ours is no exception. So we've been thinking about these things, and we try to do things. I can think of two very good reasons why ed schools should have more influence than they do. And by that I mean on the whole enterprise of education, and maybe in the broader society than they do. The first is that we just know a lot that's valuable out there in the larger society, and to educators. We really do study a lot, everything from policy to practice to the normative understandings of the purpose of education. These are things that a society has to have a serious group of people working on, and this is a place where that happens. So you want that kind of knowledge out there. That's one really good reason, and I think a part of that maybe is an almost tacit belief that evidence-based education is the way to go. That one mission of a school like ours is to stress the importance of evidence and scholarship in making forming educational policy and designing practice, and so we have a lot to offer. The second is, society really needs us now. There's no shortage of understanding of that. Every newspaper almost has something referring to the significant importance of education to the quality of our economy, to the quality of our civil society, to the nature of equity and social justice. All these major things that we aspire to in society education is perhaps the central enterprise, the central thing that society has to do well in order to achieve these other goals. So we have a lot and they need us. And those are the main reasons for taking up challenges. So here's just a set of things that I think of us as doing in the direction of meeting these challenges. We have famously changed our name to Stanford Graduate School of Education. I think that's a good self-assertion of who we actually are and the kind of contributions that we're capable of making. We also have, as you probably noticed, put a great deal, we have a tremendous external relations team of people. Sometimes they're not as visible inside the school as they are outside the school, but they're incredibly important to the fate of the school, and we've added to that a real enhanced capacity to communicate what we do to the outside world, a much stronger communications component of the external relations team. That's in the name of Jonathan Rabinovich. If you may have noticed, all those articles in the Stanford report, some of which make it all the way to the New York Times, are not happening by accident. There is a beaver of a person working behind all that, and I think that's a very important part of this idea of getting what we do out into the world and showing the world that the value of what we do. We can't hide our candle under a basket and expect people to just come and appreciate it. We have to project it, and so that's something I think we're working hard on. Also, we have a kind of two general, through a process of strategic review and so on, come with two priority areas of growth for the school. What directions might the school grow in? And we've identified two. This has especially been work of the faculty, but there's been input from all levels of the school. The first is the effects of technology on education, and the second is to increase the nation's and the world's capacity to educate low-income students. These are both challenges that education as an enterprise faces in a big way, and it's important for us to step up to them. I think that's the underlying rationale for why they would become priorities as areas of growth for the school, is that these are two of the big challenges out here. So we've done a number of specific things and have some other things planned. This year we had a campus-wide forum and course on education's digital future, which for those of you that got a chance to go to that was, I thought it was an immensely pleasurable, informative thing. You know, a half dozen times a year there were great discussions in this room about what the effects of technology on education, what the challenges are, what the opportunities are, where all the excitement is, and where it's overblown. And there were real full discussions that was something that's important for us to sort of step forward in this climate of especially online fever over online learning. Is for the ed school to play a role in this discussion. Technology. It's often talked about in the public space as technological innovations, but at the core of those innovations, for them to be effective, there has to be pedagogy. There has to be input and shaping from what we know about how human beings learn, how you teach them, and the like. So this is a space that is important for us to claim and to be prominent in. We also, in the same spirit, have a genuine partnership with the Vice Provost's Office for Online Learning. That's the office that is directed. The Vice Provost is John Mitchell. And now our own Mitchell Stevens is a real member of that office. He's also, of course, still a member of this school, but he's also has a formal set of responsibilities in the VPOL, as it's called, which symbolizes a kind of joining of efforts in this and the centrality of pedagogy to this effort in online very excitedly, as of last night, I guess, announced in the Inside Higher Education, we have hired Candace Thill. And Candace Thill is probably the nation's foremost student of online pedagogy and has designed many of the courses working at Carnegie Mellon in the Open Learning Initiative that has developed a set of online courses over the past decade that have become sort of the standard of how you do that. So there's probably nobody in the country who's dedicated more serious research to online learning than Candace Thill, and it's a symbol of the kind of commitment that we want to make as a school, that we want to be serious about this and subject these developments to the scrutiny of research. And so her joining us, I think, is a very exciting development in that regard. We're also, many of you saw Carl Wyman in this room give a talk about teaching of science. He is going to join our already very distinguished set of faculty in science teaching. His focus is going to be primarily on teaching science in the first 2 years of college. As you may know, he's a Nobel Prize winning physicist. He's going to be half-time at our school and half-time in the physics department. But all of his research will be over here. For the last 20 years, he's sort of dedicated himself to understanding what the challenges are of teaching science at the college level. He feels this is the real bottleneck in the nation's science workforce. And so it's going to be an exciting set of programs that he's going to bring. We're also in discussions with the School of Engineering about a joint center. I can say one of the great benefits of being at Stanford is that there's great relationships between the schools, and you know yourselves, it's easy to go take courses, get advisors, to do all kinds of things across schools, and the engineering school, recognizing the importance of pedagogy, we're beginning to talk about forming a center together, and might eventually even be a graduate program between the two schools. The second priority, the enhancing the nation's capacity to educate low-income students. It is a major challenge. I don't have to say a word more about that in this group, but if we're going to make progress here, that's one area where we really have to make progress. We're going to do a number of things there too. This coming year, I hope that we will have a campus-wide symposium, course, forum, analogous to the ones we had on education's digital future, that will this next year have one. In addition to continuing EDF, we will also have one on the low-income student challenge. I'm talking to a number of people about heading up that effort, so I think we will have something in place there. Our charter school in EPA, that is something where I think if there's so many pieces to pull together in making that charter school work, which I could just start talking here and go on and on forever, so I'm going to try to edit this in some way. But we're going to have the university, I think, is ready to have a much more, an enhanced commitment to that school as a part of this priority that we have. And that will mean the university putting more money into the site of the school. That will mean perhaps developing a partnership with a CMO, a pedagogically compatible CMO to manage some of the difficult to manage day-to-day aspects of running a school like that. And to doing maybe a closer job of coordinating our involvement as a graduate school in the functioning of that charter school. But those are some things that I hope work. But with that, there's always an element of risk. It's a complicated thing. We're not a single actor here. I think we have 2 school districts. We have a CMO we're negotiating with, and an upper administration. So there's a lot of factors that have to come together to make this all work. But I'd like to see it work. I think it's an important thing that we've accomplished there. We've had some publicity knocks and some challenges. There's no doubt about that. But when you look at what we've contributed to that community in terms of graduation rates and really affecting the trajectory of students' lives, it's kind of an impressive achievement over a long period of time, and we probably need to invest more in it. We'll also have an expanded partnership with San Francisco Unified. I've talked a lot about this in the last recent time, so I won't go on about it, but I think one of the beauties of that, this is a program that I inherited. It was in place when I came here, and I think there's genius in it, in that it's a real partnership. The school district can have some role over what kind of research from us they let in. So they can begin over time to focus our energies on their needs. And that's a unique kind of partnership. It helps us too, because I think we get a much better appraisal of what the real challenges in urban education are. But I think that partnership is immensely important to us. I'd like to see an incentive system, and there's some funds to make it easier for our faculty and students to be involved in it and to do things that address the needs of the school district. I'd like to see it enhanced in that way. That's what we're working toward. But that, I think, is going to be an important thing. We're also beginning to talk about and develop, actually start writing about an education clinic. Clinical capacity of the school. People come in with their problems. The people who have the relevant expertise in the school talk to them, become thought partners, and in a kind of design school sort of way, develop solutions. Those solutions get tried. We revise them, version 1.0, version 2.0, until we can, that gives us a kind of more or less rapid response to some of the needs, especially of local school districts and challenges. So that's a sketch of what this might look like. It too will take some fundraising, but I'm hopeful about that. All this, we have a family of research and practice oriented centers in the school, which we know about. They're, I think, an almost ideal family of centers because they touch some of the most important dimensions of our challenges. Be great if we had them all together in an institute. Then people could see the collection and sort of feel the power of all that goes on in this school in those ways. And so that too is probably a little farther down the road, but it's still sort of talked about in the future. And that leads to the last thing, which is a building. We need a building. I can say that without any, I don't know what, reticence at all. The ed school, we're in 6 buildings at this point. And that is just too scattered to, we need places where we can incidentally come together and see each other. That is so critical to a community, and it's the one thing that I think is the most difficult feature of the school, is to overcome all that dispersion that we have in space. And so I don't mind just being obnoxiously open about this as an ambition for the school. There are a lot of parts that have to come together. You have to get donors, you have to talk administrations who are already committed to other buildings. I mean, there's a long road ahead here, but I think we should just start talking about that. We need a building, a little campus that sort of pulls us together. You know, I should point out that Meyer Library will be taken down, for those of you who don't know, for strictly seismic reasons. So there will be a real big space right there between Cumberly and Sarah's that we could, colonize or something like that. So keep pushing that idea. So anyway, I just want to say I really, thanks for everything that you guys do. Congratulations to all of the honorees. As a new dean, this is a great, fun school to be a part of. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Steele. For everyone who's standing by the door, there's still a few seats over here, and these can be sat into. Somebody by the door, Dan Schwartz, would you mind closing that door for us? Thank you. Before we get to the sealed envelope moment, I just want to quickly thank a few people who have made this event possible. So first, for logistic and technical support, I'd like to thank Ingrid O'Brien, who made sure that we had programs and seats and food, who's over there, so thank you, Ingrid. Also to several folks in the administration, Priscilla Fiden, Amber Mello, Kelsey Fisher, Susie, or GSE IT for making sure that we had everything we needed today. Also to the awards committee, who's mostly sitting over here, and you'll get to see in a couple minutes. It is a lot of work to read through all of the nominations that we got, over 80 of them. And so I know it's very edifying, but also very time consuming. So thank you to you for your time. And then finally, I'd like to thank everybody who submitted a nomination. I know there are many people in this room who did that, and you didn't have to take time out of your busy schedule to nominate a colleague and to recognize them, but thank you for doing so. Today wouldn't be possible if you hadn't. So thank you to all of you, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce Martin and Brian to announce the Student Recognition Awards.
Thank you, Shannon. Good afternoon. This year we have the pleasure of presenting a new category of awards, the Student Recognition Awards. These new awards are an acknowledgement of the important role that our fellow students play here at Stanford, whether as colleagues, mentors, or teachers. The nominees were all selected by their peers and professors for a variety of outstanding contributions to the Graduate School of Education. The awards committee, after much deliberation, has chosen to recognize two categories of contribution: excellence in teaching and mentoring, and enriching the student community.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Teaching and mentoring are at the core of what we do here at Stanford, particularly in the Graduate School of Education. But doing these things with excellence is no easy task. It requires the ability to respect vulnerability of being a student without being condescending, to encourage both reflection and accountability, and the willingness to be a humane partner in intellectual and professional endeavors. As Brian alluded to, this was a very difficult choice for the awards committee. Each candidate stood out in meaningful ways. Here are some of the comments offered in support of the people who we are here to recognize for their teaching and mentoring. His patience is remarkable. She has done everything in her power to support and guide us through the process of becoming educators while always maintaining her patience and sense of optimism. He is a sounding board for ideas and methods. Both older and younger cohorts seek his knowledge, knowing that he will make time for them no matter how simple or complex the question. She exemplifies so many of the qualities I hope to bring to my own teaching, truly leading by example. He's capable of simplifying the information in a way that doesn't overgeneralize or lead me to use a strategy that doesn't always apply. She's incredibly knowledgeable about all things related to teaching, but she remains humble. And without further ado, congratulations to Eric Taylor and Judy Hicks. Congratulations.
Thank you. Our work here at Stanford is more than just teaching, and many of the nominees give to the school by making the Graduate School of Education a better place to live and learn. Together, they make the GSE feel more open and inviting. Two of the nominees stood out for their work enriching the student life of the GSE. In the nomination letters, the first was described as consistently available to help students and a source of support and information with tireless dedication and a knack for forming a positive relationship with anyone. This person is also always a cheerful and supportive presence who inspires others to become involved. The second was described as willing to go the extra mile for students, a model educator, colleague, and researcher, an integral part of every aspect of the GSE, who has become a mentor and without whom graduate experience would not have been the same. I can also say that we would not be here today without this person. The student awards for enriching the GSE community go to Renee, Lizcano, and Shannon, Brady. And now I'll hand things over to Matt Kelly to present the Friends of the GSE Awards.
As many of you may know, the Friends of the GSE category is new this year, created to provide an opportunity for the community to formally express its gratitude and appreciation for the many friends and employees of the GSE that regularly enrich the school in innumerable and often unseen ways. There were many nominees within this category, and they all deserve recognition from the Guild and the larger GSE community. If you don't mind, I'd like to start by quickly mentioning all the nominees that deserve special recognition today, including Deborah Bellinger, Doris Chin, Priscilla Fiden, Kristen Geiser, Gina Morris, Steve Olson, Day Rose, Melissa Sheeby, and Gregory Walton. For this year, the award committee decided to highlight 3 members of the GSE community. In the letters the award committee received about these 3 individuals, it became clear that they all work tirelessly for the community and that the GSE is a better place every day because of their hard work. One of these winners, unfortunately, is not here today. That's Priscilla Fiden. But we would like to honor Steve Olson for his hard work as the Associate Dean of Finance and Administration. We had some tremendous letters written on Steve's behalf. We also would like to honor Melissa Sheeby for her incredible work. Congratulations to you both. I'd like to welcome Michelle and Mohammed to present the faculty awards.
Before we invite the student nominators up to announce the winners of the faculty awards, we want to say a few words, and I promise only a few, about how extraordinary all of the nominations were. At a research institution like Stanford, it could be easy to assume that the faculty would consider teaching an annoyance and their advisees as workhorses there to fulfill the professor's need for research labor. It was evident, however, from the heartfelt recommendations that this is not so at the Graduate School of Education. The faculty here inspire students to think deeply and learn much. They support students in engaging with concepts and practices, respond to student needs, and provide resources to ensure their students' success. We are honored to have as excellent a faculty as we have found here.
We were overwhelmed and blessed by all the nominations that we have received, and we would like to congratulate the teaching faculty and the mentoring faculty that received nominations. And our nominees for the Faculty Teaching Award were Maren Aukerman, Dan Schwartz, Denise Pope, Raymond McDermott, and Gabe Hogland. And now I want to invite Katie Stocks-Ginnon and Claudia Rodriguez-Monica to present the Faculty Teaching Award to Maren Aukerman. Sorry.
I might have gotten that.
Hi.
So Aaron.
It's actually going to be myself, Lauren, and Liam speaking on behalf of Maren. Liam, Lauren, and I have been writing back and forth since the nomination period and afterwards trying to figure out into 5 minutes how to fit the myriad of ways we feel Maren embodies and practices what it means to be a good teacher and mentor. We found we had similar stories about what has touched us personally and professionally about how Maren truly practices what she preaches in her academic writing. Lauren and Liam are going to say a few words about how we feel she's extraordinary pedagogically, and I wanted to start out by saying that this is enhanced by how she is first as a person. Someone who really models the empathy, humility, and understanding it takes to truly learn from your students and your experiences and to empower your students to do the same. I am grateful, and I know we are all so grateful to have had the chance to work with you and learn.
So as my advisor, Maren has really inspired me to think more purposefully, to read more deeply, and to take my ideas more seriously, because I know that she's really interested in what I have to say. And it is the same quality that she brings to her teaching. In her classes, she leans forward and she invites students to dig deeply into the texts at the center of the discussion. The very same thing she helps teacher candidates do with their elementary and secondary students in their teaching placements. She embodies dialogically organized instruction. She listens, she poses questions, she asks others to weigh in and respond, and soon somebody is reading from the article and everybody else is flipping back to find that line and think about it again. I've never been so engaged in thinking and talking about such dense material, and after her classes, I know that I can count on leaving the room feeling exhilarated and totally mentally exhausted. The discourses of teaching reading and the literacy theory class that I have taken with her have given me a basis for thinking about education differently. They've changed the way that I listen to others. They've taught me to read more carefully, pay closer attention to my own ideas and my struggle to understand what is being said. They've really changed the way I think about teaching and learning. So thank you, Maren, for taking our ideas and us as people and thinkers so seriously.
All right, I'm going to zoom in on a particular moment from our discourses of reading class. It was week 9. We were all a bit frazzled. I'm sure some of us can identify this being a week of the winter quarter. And we were all trying to negotiate a lot of new ideas about interacting with students in small literature circle discussions, seeing them as independent sense makers, removing ourselves as positions of authorities on the text and bestowing that back on the students. There's a lot of things for us to be processing as students. And we were practicing this in placement classrooms. And so one student raised their hand and they asked that question that you know the professor might not answer. Maren, what works with dialogic instruction? What works? The professor's not supposed to answer that. He's not supposed to give you a list of rules, how you can do this right there. But Maren did. Maren gave us an answer, and yet she also provided us a space for thought. She told us that when she works with students in a dialogically oriented way, she likes to keep 3 ideas in mind: trust, value, and seek to understand. Trust, value, and seek to understand these students. You've never seen every single member of a seminar go down to their notebooks as fast as possible and scroll those words. It was incredible. I just learned that Lorraine actually has a stack of Post-it notes with that emblazoned on top of it. She has personalized stationery. Trust, value, and seek to understand. But in reflecting on that, looking back on that moment, I don't know what was more profound. The fact that she was able to distill so many difficult approaches into such a simple and resonant maxim, or the fact that she so fully embodies these virtues in her teaching. And I am sure, in speaking with other people who've enjoyed having her as a teacher, that she, throughout all the classrooms that she's been a part of, has trusted, valued, and sought to understand her students. So it is my pleasure, on behalf of all those who nominated her, all those who have worked in her classrooms, to have her come forward and present to her the 2013 Graduate School Education.
Thank you, Aaron, Liam, and Lorraine. And congratulations to Maren. I'll be now presenting the nominees for the Faculty Advising Award, which is also Maren Aukerman, Brian Brown, Christine Waptika, Claude Goldenberg, Guadalupe Valdez, Ed Hertel, John Walensky, Pam Grossman, Sam Weinberg, and Sean Reardon. And I'll now invite Claudia and Katie to present the Faculty Advising Award to Claude Goldenberg.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie, and this is my colleague Claudia. And we are speaking today on behalf of Claude Goldenberg's advisees, so this speech is not just from us. And we're talking on behalf of both the students he officially advises, as well as the ones he unofficially advises, which include doctoral students, master's students, and undergrads. Claude is a gem among so many gems on this faculty, and we are thrilled that he is being recognized with the GSE Guild Advising Award. Claude is everything an advisor should be: accessible, supportive, and knowledgeable, but he also goes above and beyond. He's also incredibly generous, wise, and kind. In fact, this man defies the bounds of what can reasonably be considered human. We think that he may actually be a superhero. Piece of evidence number 1. Claude can code switch between doting yet concerned Jewish grandmother and doting yet concerned abuelita. Piece of evidence number 2. Claude has been an absolutely brilliant teacher at every level: first graders, high schoolers, and graduate students. Very suspicious. Piece of evidence number 3. Claude provides immediate and thoughtful responses to his students' research epiphanies, even the ones that occur at 2:30 in the morning. No joke, every one of his advisees has time-stamped evidence of this. Piece of evidence number 4. Claude is seemingly always cheerful and enthusiastic. He has a wonderful sense of humor, even in the face of situations that would frustrate mere mortals.
But we're gonna let you in on a little secret. Brilliant as he is, Princeton graduate and Spencer Fellow and all that, Claude appears not to be particularly skilled at math. Sure, he can understand complicated statistics like regression or ANOVA, but he seems to have difficulty with basic fractions. You see, he doesn't seem to realize that co-advising with other faculty means that he only has to do half of the advising work, since the advisee would get the other half from another faculty member. Instead, Claude fully advises every one of his advisees. He is wholly available and entirely supportive. As a result, and because many of the faculty he co-advises with take the same tack, some of us get much more than our fair share of advising. Pretty amazing. And the man defies logic by making each of his advisees feel like he or she is his #1 priority. At Claude's suggestion, we began this year having bi-weekly meetings of Claude's advisees where we each share about our various research projects or test out our ideas. It has been invaluable to get each other's feedback, to cross-pollinate across our varied interests and approaches, and to have practice presenting our ideas or our findings. But the best part of those meetings, perhaps, is watching Claude glow with pride. The presenter presents, Claude beams. Someone asks a question, Claude bursts at the seams. He watches us supporting and challenging one another, and he is clearly so very proud of us. Which is not to say that he's a softie. Far from it. This man will push you until you want to cry uncle and go hide under a rock. His expectations for the quality of our research and writing are incredibly high, and he'll settle for nothing less than the best work each of us can do. But, and here's the key, he provides the necessary scaffolds for each of us to reach those expectations. He's there with reviews of our work, suggestions for improvements, papers we should read, and examples of his own work. He provides rich and detailed feedback. It's clear that he has read and really, really thought about our work. And even if we know, or eventually figure out, that our ideas or arguments were well, less than brilliant, he never makes us feel that way. He respects our development, points out the strengths of our work, and provides constructive next steps.
For Claude, equity is about, For Claude, equity is about more than just the research he does. It's also an ideal that permeates all of what he does, particularly his advising. He does 2 things that demonstrate his commitment to equity. First, he has gotten to know all of us as people, our backgrounds, interests, and families, our struggles and goals. And second, he has used that information to support and challenge each of us individually. He co-authors papers and presentations, supports us through our first experiences designing research projects and peer-reviewing journals, encourages us to apply for fellowships and professional development opportunities, and provides meaningful teaching assistantships. And he helps to put us in touch with faculty at Stanford and elsewhere who are experts in the various areas each of us is exploring. He is incredibly generous with his time and expertise. So generous, in fact, that he extends his advices to students who aren't even his. At least 4 of the people who wrote letters nominating Claude for this award are people who have been struck by his willingness to meet with and support them and their work, even though he wasn't in any way responsible for them. Claude is a true intellectual, eager to explore and hone ideas. A true teacher, eager to support students so they'll succeed. A true human being, kind, generous, positive, and thoughtful. But going back to what we were hypothesizing before, maybe more superhero than human being, we're pretty sure he's somehow making extra hours in the day, or maybe he's got a robot doing some of his work for him. Something suspicious is definitely going on here. Claude, we are so very grateful to be your students and your advisees. You are a model of teaching, advising, hard work, and humanity. You have pushed each one of us beyond where we thought we could go, and you make your own hard work a pleasure, or make our own hard work our pleasure. You have comforted us as we struggled, and you have celebrated our successes. We are so proud to be able to celebrate you today.
Claude, congratulations on your hard-earned and well-deserved Graduate School of Education Guild Advising Award.
Thank you. Before we finish today, there's actually one other special announcement that we would like to make. And so Juan Alperin, will you come forward?
Don't you love when they add something to the program that's separating you from lunch? I promise it's going to be very quick. I just wanted to take this opportunity that everyone is here to make a formal announcement of something that took place last week in the Graduate School of Education. And I'm very proud to have been a part of and to have had the support of both the Guild as well as from faculty and administration in having put together a motion that the students were voted on. I think for the very first time in the Graduate School of Education's history, the students voted on a motion to enact a policy that would bind themselves to something. So that in itself, and having voted on this policy, I think was historic in that it was an expression of the student will to basically try to bring research to the public in a way that wasn't happening before. The faculty passed a policy in 2008 that said that they were all committed to making all of their research publicly available through an institutional repository. And the student body, as of last week, voted overwhelmingly in favor. 95% of the students that voted in favor of having this policy, or a policy that's very similar to it, applied to the student body as well. So we had what was, again, 95% of the student body that voted in favor. And in total, actually, when we worked out the numbers, it turns out that it's out of all of the students that, out of the doctoral students that voted, we had over 55% of the student body, of the doctoral students voting in favor of this policy. Again, I'm very proud to say that the first time that the student body votes on something to have a policy act on themselves, it was to ensure that the research, and going back to Claude's words about saying the influence that the School of Education needs to be having out in the world. This was an act to make sure that the students' work, all the research the students are producing in conjunction with faculty, but also on their own, was available for teachers, for administrators, for the public at large, for people at institutions that couldn't afford the journal subscriptions for the journals that students were publishing in. So I'm very proud. I think that the student body, I congratulate, and I thank everyone who voted on this, who participated in the vote, both those that voted in favor and those that voted against. I think that the fact that having the participation of the student body in this was something that in itself I'm very proud of, and then again, I'm duly proud that it was for what I consider to be a very important cause. So congratulations and thank you to all the students.
So for the winners, if you can stick around for a second for some nice photo ops with the dean, please do so. And then for everyone else, thank you very much for coming. Congratulations to the winners, congratulations to the nominees, and I will no longer stand in your way of lunch.